Hello and welcome to That Shooting Show. My name is Steve Anderson. How the heck are you? This show is going to be about preventing brain farts and 15 other crazy mental game errors that don't have to keep bothering you. But first, I got to tell you about Walther Firearms. The Walther Steel Frame PDP pistol is the finest gun of its type I've ever laid my hands on. And we just did a class in Texas, and a guy said, all I knew about you is that you sound like a used car salesman. Do I sound like a used car salesman? Right? I think I sound like a concerned individual who wants you to have the finest competition handgun you can have. That's what I want for you. And then I want you to put it, pardon me, in a CR Speed holster because it's the finest competition holster on the market. And then, but wait! But wait, there's more. And then I want you to time your shots with an AMG-lab.com Commanderson timer that puts all your times into the tablet. And then I want you to look... I want you to do all of that through Hunter's HG Gold, which is the only eyewear that I wear. And then I want you to dispense the finest Freedom Seeds you can dispense from a Freedom Seed dispenser with your Outdoor Dynamics Competition Reload ammunition. And then when that's all over, and you're driving home from the match, and you get pulled over, and they do a roadside sobriety test. I want you to type shootingsportsinnovations.com and get it right the first time. You'll be off the hook regardless of what you've done. Used car salesman. Come on. Now, we just scheduled online mental management for December 29th, January 5th, and January 12th. There are 3 time slots available. I believe it's 1 p.m., 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern. So go get signed up for that. And we are also scheduling classes for 2026, obviously. You can do just me. We can get Kita involved and do the Steve and Kita combination class. I have at least 3 different kinds of classes we can do, plus IDPA. And by the way, we make magic in IDPA. Get this. You can learn to shoot zeros faster without shooting a bunch of ones and without going so slow. That's what we do for IDPA shooters. Okay? So, that's where we're at. Just send me an email that says, hey, I want to do a class. All we need is a range that either holds matches or has match props, and I will handle everything else. If you're not sure how to proceed, just go to your match director and say, hey, I noticed we do classes here. I'd like to bring in Anderson. And let me know. We'll pick a date, and I will take care of the rest. And in certain conditions, the class sponsor can get the class for free, so that's also another option. All right, so let's talk about old, tired dogma. We are getting ready to drive some new karma over some old dogma. Okay? These are things that people believe and have believed for decades. For example, when I first started, they said to me, it takes 10 years and 1 million rounds to get to master class, and don't even think about becoming a grandmaster because mortals can't do it. They literally believed that unless you were a professionally paid shooter, you could not get to grandmaster class. There's no point in trying. Okay? I didn't believe it. I said, hold my beer. And I went and did it. Regarding the mental game, I'll just practice more and solve it with practice. Well, practice will not solve it by itself. In fact, the problem is usually negative imprints during practice that are causing the problem and also making it worse. You ever think about that? Never good enough, not fast enough, too slow, too sloppy, this is no good, that's no good, I'm no good at this, I'm no good at that. That's the shooter that goes to the match. The guy that believes those things. Well, you're just telling me to pat myself on the bottom and tell myself I'm the greatest. I never said anything of the sort. What I need you to understand is the things that you are saying to yourself in training are shaping and becoming the person who goes to the match. That's what I'm saying. Okay? Practicing with negative imprints is making it worse and could be causing the problem. Okay? I just need to try harder in competition. This is crazy. This is absolutely nuts. If this was the case, everybody would be doing it and it would be working. The problem is it doesn't work, and here's why. The extra effort is literally preventing access to subconscious skill, which is where your training resides. So anytime you apply conscious effort, you have to relearn the task for the first time, typically on the clock. And I'll prove it to you. You go to a stage that has a really close first target, and you want to smoke that first shot. How well does that usually go? Not very well. And you miss your grip because you're having to relearn how to draw the gun on the clock. Okay? So trying harder is not the thing. Number 3, you've got to be hard on yourself to get better. Again, not true. Well, you're just telling me to ignore all my... I never said anything of the sort. Okay? But you do need to meet or exceed a written training schedule and find something to celebrate about that training. Something. Hey, I'm getting better at this. That'll do. That'll be fine. I'm not telling you to ignore weaknesses. I'm just telling you that the things you say become who you are. And if you say, I am getting better at one-handed shooting, and you can believe it, that's great. But I never told you to lie to yourself because self-image will actually reject something that it perceives to be a lie. You need to push it a little bit at major matches. Put some speed on it. Okay, this one's interesting. There's a difference between coming off the brakes and getting on the gas, right? And a lot of people don't have that elusive area between being off the brakes and being on the gas. And if pushing it means 100%, if it means 110%, then mistakes are very likely. Again, 110% activates the conscious mind, denies access to subconscious skill, and makes errors more likely. That's just simply what happens. Scientific. It's a scientific fact. It's not an opinion. All right? Everybody tanks their first nationals. Number 5. It doesn't have to be that way. Why would you say that to somebody who's going to the nationals for their first time? Oh, I know, because you tanked your first nationals and you want them to tank their first nationals, so you'll feel better about you tanking your first nationals. Doesn't have to be this way. But this is caused by a focus on results, which is a job you don't know how to do. When you focus on the results, you're giving yourself a job you don't know how to do. I need to come in the top 10%. Well, you don't know how to do that. Otherwise, you'd already be there. You don't know how to do that. You're giving yourself a job you don't know how to do. But instead, give yourself a job you know how to do. Lanny Basham went to the Olympics in 1972. 1972. And he gave himself a job he didn't know how to do. He said, Lanny, I've got to beat a guy I've never beat and win the Olympics. I don't know how to do those things. So he choked under the pressure and came in second. He was furious. So he took 4 years to study the mental game. Very little was known at this time. 1972 was a very dark age. That's the year I was born, with phones plugged into the walls with rotary dialers. So archaic. But he studied the mental game for 4 years, discovered mental management, and went back and said, Lanny, what do you got to do today? All I have to do is run my mental program on every shot. Do you know how to do that? I'm the best in the world. So in 72, he gave himself a job he didn't know how to do. And of course he failed. 76, he gave himself a job he knew how to do and a job in which he believed he was the best in the world. And that's when he won. When he gave himself a job he believed he could do. Number 6, you got to start out about 90%. Okay. Under-trying is better than over-trying in any sport, but neither will provide top performance. Okay? I don't believe in coming out at 90% because what if the big stage is the first stage and you come out at 90%? Yes, you're less likely to produce a serious error, but you're also less likely to win that stage. Again, I want you to pedal hard in training and coast in competition. That's what I want you to do. And you do that by giving yourself a singular point of focus, putting the dot in the middle of the target with a subconscious stage plan. It's so simple. More on that in a minute. Okay. Under-trying as a specific strategy for preventing error is a different issue. So, for example, if you're in the last stage and you've got a strong lead, this is really only valid at the very top. But under-trying as a specific strategy for preventing error is a different issue than coming out at 90%. Those are two different things, okay? Number 7, goals require deadlines. Okay, this one causes a lot of problems. The deadline is only useful if you can exponentially increase your level of participation in your training. Otherwise, the deadline will cause overtrying, especially in the case of classification. If you say, I've got to win nationals this year, If you can't exponentially increase your training, the deadline will cause overtrying. Now, if you can dedicate your life to it, for example, if you could say, hey, this is my year, and you could take 2 months off and live like an Olympian for 2 months, I'd be okay with it. Because now we're putting in the work to justify the deadline. But without that, the deadline is very likely to cause overtrying. Think about going to a crash fire match. Oh, this has got to be the one. You're going to overtry. Just do it, and other vague ideas. So we got into a little bit of a debate. We did mental management online the last class for December, or this last December class. And it was later in the day, and for some reason, I was a little bit more riled up than normal, a little bit more blunt than normal, having a great time. And everybody loves it when Steve gets blunt. Oh, yeah, give us the blunt, Steve. And the guy says, yeah, we were talking about the triad state. And he goes, oh, this is the flow state. And I said, stop. Why do we have to call it something else? Why can't we just call it what it is? Why can't we call it the triad state? Because I don't know what the flow state is. What is that? How do I tap into it? Do I turn a faucet on? Like, what are we even doing here? But conscious, subconscious, self-image, I know what those mean. And I know how to get into that mode. I know how to get into the triad state. Just shoot your game. What does that mean? What is the task behind shoot your game? I don't think about it. Let it go. Again, what is the task? Okay? Men, listening to the program right now, think about your favorite part of the female body. Oh, sorry, don't. Whatever you do, don't. Think about your favorite part of the female body. I just learned something. Can I change my answer? Make your own jokes. Now, vague ideas need to have executable tasks. Okay? Clean the house. You clean the house and you didn't clean the baseboards and you're in trouble. What she meant was clean the baseboards. Well, she didn't say that. She said clean the house. It's a pretty vague idea. Okay? Don't let vague ideas remain. Turn them into executable tasks. I can outsmart mental management. Okay, opting out of mental management is like opting out of gravity. Okay, gravity exists, and you don't have to believe in gravity for it to have its way with you. What I want you to do is understand gravity. I want you to use it in your favor. Okay, I don't need to keep a journal. Well, the group I had last night, I made them do journal entries between the last 2 classes, and every single one of them said to me, I cannot believe how good this makes me feel about my shooting. I cannot believe how good this is for my confidence. You don't know it until you try it. You got to trust me. Okay, by the way, people also believe they can outsmart negative imprints. Even something along the lines of a self-deprecating joke. I'm not a big fan of self-deprecating jokes unless they're so absurd. And even then, I don't think we need to do it. I don't think we need to do them. But if they're super, super absurd, I'm okay with it. Let's see, where are we at? Oh, and journal is dry fire for the mental game. That's my new thing you're going to hear a lot of. If we think dry fire is effective, and I think we've reached a conclusion on that. I think we can agree dry fire is effective. Let's consider journal the dry fire for the mental game. Number 10, my goals need to be reasonable. Not true. Reasonable goals cause reasonable change. Unreasonable goals cause unreasonable change. Goals simply need to become inevitable. And no, this doesn't conflict with what I said about deadlines. Okay? Becoming a national champion, if you make that inevitable, it's going to happen. It will happen. We just don't know when. Okay? You've got to get your mental game fixed. I'm just telling you, the middle of the pack is where you'll find people who train hard with a poor mental game. The middle of the pack everywhere. Locally, middle of the pack. Training doesn't understand the mental game. Nationally, for sure, it's the same 10 guys. They're training their butts off. They're phenomenal shooters. But their mental game is dog crap. And that's why they're stuck in the middle of the pack. Now, at the top, you might find people that are unconscious competent. And what that means is they know how to shoot under pressure, but they can't explain it, and they don't fully understand it. And that can be okay until it quits working unexpectedly, and then these people can't get back. That's the problem with being unconscious competent. Because remember, conscious, subconscious self-image, they're always working whether you're participating or not. And some people, if they find a way to fix self-image and they find a way to not think very much, they can have a great career and not know the bones, the ins and outs of mental management. But it doesn't mean they're not using it. They're just using it without realizing it. I only shoot well when I'm not thinking and I don't care. Well, okay. That's not untrue. However, that's not a duplicable state. Go to a match and don't think. Go to a match and don't care. You won't be able to do it. But you do shoot your best subconsciously. That's what not thinking means. And you definitely shoot your best when you're not worried about the results. See, there's a misconception there. It isn't that you're not allowed to think about the results. We need to find a way to not be worried about the results. Big, big difference. Okay? Worrying about the results will always cause overtrying. Always. You don't know how to win a match if you haven't yet done it. Okay, so telling yourself, I'm going to win my local match. If you've never done that, then you don't know how to do it. But what do you know how to do? When you look at your best stages, you're going to find a subconscious stage plan, or you won't call it that because that's too simple. You might say, I knew the stage inside and out. Well, what does that mean? It's a subconscious stage plan. I don't need to think about it in order to execute it. That's what that means. That's literally what that means. Okay? And then, where were we? Oh, yes. So, I got so excited, I lost my place. You may not know how to win the match, but there are things you do know how to do. And if you know how to get a subconscious stage plan, which we do, and if you know how to get a singular focus on something to reduce the amount of conscious thought, which if you've been listening to me, you've got that somewhat figured out, those are things you know how to do. Okay? And you've got to stop obsessing about your stage plan itself. You've got to. You got to quit worrying about it. Well, that's not the right way to put that. If you could quit worrying about it, you wouldn't be worried about it. So let's change that. Unless you've been in the sport less than a year, I don't think you can do something so dumb that execution won't save it. Now, if you've been in the sport less than a year, maybe. But if you've been in the sport for a year, I don't think you can create a terrible stage plan. Okay? And your opinion of your stage plan is more important than your stage plan. I know you don't believe me, but I'll prove it to you. Don't you shoot your best when you love the stage and love your plan. And don't you shoot worse when you don't like the stage and or don't like your plan. Aren't those things true? Okay, so if those two things are true, then let's say that your opinion of your stage plan is more important than your stage plan. I need to get faster and more accurate at the same time. Not possible and very damaging to your confidence. Now, you guys have been with me long enough to know that self-image is your opinion of yourself collectively as a shooter and individually with all of your different skills. If you're trying to get faster and more accurate at the same time, you're always going to be disappointed. Therefore, your opinion of each individual skill and yourself as a total shooting package, make your own jokes, will be going down. I got so sidetracked I forgot where I was in that sentence. Let's try that again. If I'm trying to get faster, I can do that very quickly, short term. My accuracy will suffer during this process. If I'm trying to get more accurate, I can do that very quickly. Speed will suffer during this process. How do I combine them? Well, number one, you quit asking the question. The second thing you do is put the dot in the middle of the target as quickly as you can do it. Just do that when you're shooting for score. I know you don't believe me, but I'm just telling you, we've proven it thousands of times. You combine a subconscious stage plan with a singular focus, you are going to get your current level of skill. Well, filtered by your self-image, that's the slight wrinkle there. But yes, subconscious stage plan, singular focus equals current level of skill filtered by self-image. Okay? If I believe I'm good or improving, I get more skill. If I believe I suck or I'm terrible, I get less skill. Okay. Also, you need to understand that serious training may not be great shooting. So if you're training movement in a serious way, then the actual shooting, the points, may not be good. So that's the wrong thing to measure. Pardon me. Nobody shoots well when they're thinking about their feet. So there's two things to learn there. Number one, think about something other than your feet in competition. Number two, when you're training your feet, don't expect good shooting. I know this might be a hard concept to wrap your head around because I've never heard anybody else talk about it, or at least not in such a way. But everybody thinks there's this disconnect. Well, I trained my movement, but my hits got terrible. Fantastic. That's amazing. That's so good. Now just keep doing the movement piece until it's subconscious, and then when it's time to shoot for score, instead of thinking about your feet, think about putting the dot in the middle of the target. And you will get that new movement technique to whatever extent it's become subconscious. Okay? By the way, I did get to assist Keita Bussey on her last 2 movement classes. I've never got to witness the whole thing before, and I got to watch 2 in a row. Absolutely incredible training. When you combine it with my stuff, it's the secret. Really, really remarkable stuff. Okay, not the last one, but the next one is, you know that Facebook meme where they show Will Smith with the memory zapper, and the guy says, every time the timer goes off, I forget my stage plan? Okay, you are doing that to yourself. That is simply does not have to be the case. The reason that's happening to you is because late decisions cause insufficient reps. Let's try that again. Late decisions cause insufficient reps. And considering choices causes brain farts. Guys, I'm just telling you, you want to make the biggest impact and you're shooting the quickest, get your stage plan quicker and get 20 reps of it. But as a combination of mental and physical, choose quick. Just try it at your next match. Just try it. Pick a stage plan quickly and get at least 20 reps between walking and visualizing. Just try it and see what happens. And then once you do that, you're ready for the next step. Well, there's 2 steps that come after that. But once you can do that, you're ready for the next 2 steps. All right, remember, considering choices causes brain farts. If you can't decide whether to go left or right, that means you have some number of reps of going left, some number of reps of going right. That's what causes the brain fart, the indecision. I need to go slower or faster because of points and times. Okay. The conscious control of speed in competition is the single biggest problem in the sport. The conscious control of speed in competition is the single biggest problem in the sport. Because when you do that, you are literally denying access to subconscious skill and you're relearning the skill on the clock. Now, in training, you do have to control your speed. Otherwise, you won't get faster. But in competition, put the dot in the middle of the target as quickly as you can see it, and everything will be fine, I promise. Okay? All right, hope you enjoyed today's program. Preventing brain farts and 15 more crazy mental game errors. Again, send me podcast ideas. Steve@AndersonShooting.com. If you want a class, just shoot me an email. We'll do a quick phone call and we'll get that sucker done. May not see you again before Christmas. Probably will. Oh, that's the other thing. I'm going to go see my parents in Houston on Monday. If you're in the Houston area, specifically the Woodlands, and you want to do like a half day, or I'm going to be there for about a week. If you want to do a half day or a full day private lesson in or around Houston, Texas, have access to a range, you have props, you have all that other stuff, shoot me an email that just says Houston Private Lessons, and I will call you and we will get that done. Okay? Till we meet again, on the Zoom, on the range, or anywhere else, be like me, do what I do, say it with me. 1, 2, 3, love you, bye, and get to work.